Here, can you write it down? Tell me what's wrong. You're sick, that's all, but we're gonna fix you.
Hi, Leigh. I'm Alistair from Zavvi here in the UK.
Hey,
Congratulations on the movie. It's really stayed with me in the few weeks since I watched it.
oh, great. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. So I mean, compared to the Invisible Man, I mean, this story is far closer to the original the bones of the original Universal monster movie than the
Mm.
Invisible Man was. Were you using it consciously as more of a blueprint this time around?
I think I was a little bit only because, the Invisible Man is uh, embodied by his lack of a presence. I mean, quite literally, he's not there. So that gives you a lot of room. If you're designing a new Wolverine costume, you got a lot of eyeballs on you trying to, scrutinize what you're doing, what you're not doing, what you're doing correctly. Why doesn't he have a yellow suit? Whatever. So with the Invisible Man, you've got total freedom because no one can say, the empty corner of that room was done incorrectly. With Wolfman, it's very visual. I mean, that's what we know about Wolfman is it's that transformation. That's what people think about when they think of Wolfman. They have that clear image in their mind. Maybe it's of the Lon Chaney look, or it's American Werewolf in London, whatever it is. So it did inherently become more visual, and maybe that caused me to look more to the original film and cling more to the mythology, as opposed to depart completely from everything.
My next question might sound a little strange considering this is a movie about a werewolf, but bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I mean, one of the things that's great about your movie is that we see so much of the transformation from Blake, Christopher Abbott's character's perspective. We hear, we see things the way that a werewolf might. So I was just wondering, did you undertake extensive research, into the canine kingdom to see, to accurately mirror an animal's, perspective?
I did actually, and it's funny. As soon as I went into that research, you discover how little people know. Like we can guess, but we can never completely get how they're seeing and hearing the world. And so that there's a vision range usually that wolves, especially, there's a sort of a blue-green range that they can see in. Or maybe it's blue to yellow. It's been a while since I've looked at my charts, but that was kind of the world we tried to design a lot of the visuals in, and then with hearing, obviously they're not understanding human language. They say dogs can understand up to, 10 words from their owner, whether it's sit or, come or whatever it is. But I was listening to a lot of audio of the animal world kind of slowed down. There's a lot of really interesting stuff on the internet with animals being recorded with different microphones. So you would hearing a cricket, for instance, from a different perspective, the way it sounds when you're much closer, because we hear it a certain way as humans. That stuff was fascinating, and it just became a feast for the sound design. Like I was thinking about the sound design when I was writing this movie, to be honest.
And the film also opens with text describing how Native American cultures came into contact with werewolves initially.
Mm-hmm.
So were you reading up on sort of surrounding real world folklore about werewolves to sort of give that story that extra grounding?
I was a little bit. I mean, I was trying to keep it mysterious because I wanted this part of the world where the film is set to be very cut off from society. It's like another world. They have their own rules, their own language. And so I didn't want to dump a whole lot of exposition on the audience about the origin of this. I did a similar thing with Invisible Man where I just was like, I didn't want to go too much into how this happened. You just accept that it's happened. And so, but I know that a lot of different cultures and like indigenous culture in the US have a version of this. It's interesting how myths pop up around the world even when they're not connected. So the idea of a human transforming into an animal is really common in different cultures. And so it was nice to be able to nod to that and be like, this is a thing that's been around for a while. It's not a new thing.
You've said in interviews that one of my favorite films, David Cronenberg's The Fly, was a major influence on
Mm-hmm.
you. And,
Mm-hmm.
and of Cronenberg, of course, as always said, The Fly, it was supposed to be sort of an allegory for seeing a loved one sort of succumb to a terminal disease. So I was just wondering, when writing a story about a similar transformation, did you have a similar sort of allegory in mind?
I absolutely did. It might have been that allegory. You know, The Fly was a big inspiration, as you said, and for this movie, it felt like the right bedrock to build the film on was disease. And I had seen friends of mine suffer from terminal illnesses and pass away, and it's a horrific thing to watch. It's really a horror story in slow motion that you witness. You know, if somebody is suffering a degenerative illness, it happens very slowly. Maybe they're walking with a cane, and then suddenly a few months go by and now they can't walk at all. They're using a chair, and it's a slow motion nightmare. And I really wanted to speak to that in this movie. And, you know, my brother-in-law passed away very close to the shooting of this movie, and it was a shocking thing. And so these emotions that we feel when we lose people close to us was very much infused in the movie. You know, for me, it was very raw, and that's really what the movie's about. It sounds similar to what Cronenberg was doing, but you know, I can only hope to approach the greatness of his movie, The Fly.
And speaking of raw emotions, I mean, I've seen you in other places describe it as marriage story with monsters. So
Yeah.
Is this, above anything else, a story about a breakdown of a marriage more than it is a monster transformation?
A little bit. I mean, it's funny because I felt like with The Invisible Man, the film, when I was writing it, it felt like it was really on rails. It was really about one thing. You know, the thing that was presenting itself to me was domestic abuse and being stalked by somebody, being harassed by somebody. That's what the movie seemed to be about. And so I always had this North Star. With this movie, I was writing the first draft during COVID, and there were so many things going through my head. And I realized, oh, this movie isn't about one thing like The Invisible Man was. This movie is about fatherhood and how you parent versus your own parents and how you want to be different. It's about terminal illness and disease. It's about a marriage and how you make a marriage last. And I decided at some point, I don't have to pick one of these things. You know, I just want the movie to be about all of this stuff, because the world felt like a mess in 2020. It didn't feel linear at all. It was very discombobulating. And so I guess it was very cathartic writing this script, because I was putting everything that was on my mind, parenthood, marriage, illness, all of that stuff is in the script.
Yeah. I mean, the world's still a mess now, but at least we've got your film in it.
I know, it's taken a long time. A lot of people have said, God, what took you so long? You know, it's been 5 years since The Invisible Man came out. And I'm like, sorry, there was a pandemic. There was a couple of strikes. You know, there was a lot of things happening. The world of entertainment is in upheaval, which I'm sure you could talk about in more detail than I could. But I'm glad to be here with a movie. I really am.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner need no introduction. They are as great as expected. I want to ask you about the hunt to find Matilda first, to find a young actress who could withstand such an intense movie. Was that a challenge to try and find that young actor?
Absolutely. It is. You know, just by virtue of their age, when you're looking for a 9-year-old girl, they don't have the same experience. And you know, Terry Taylor, the casting director on this movie, I've worked with her a lot. She's awesome. She just went through so many people. And we went to the UK. We found Matilda in England. She checked every box for us. She was just so believable and real and honest and a great performer. She also happens to be super cute, and I kind of fell in love with her instantly. Like, oh, if this was my daughter, you know, you want to protect this person. She's so innocent. But she's also really wise. She's just on set. She was not intimidated by Chris and Julia. In fact, she was so honest. I feel like Matilda made them up their game. You know, Chris isn't a dad, so, you know, he's obviously a great actor. He's not a dad in real life, but I feel like he really quickly developed a paternal relationship with her.
Yeah, well, I've been given the 1 minute sign, so very quickly, looking forward to the future, Leigh. Obviously, you said that you weren't planning to make another Universal monster movie until Wolfman just sort of came into your lap.
Right.
Are you planning to leave this universe behind, or do you see yourself closing out a spiritual trilogy?
I don't know. It depends if people want it. I'll hold the world ransom. Like if you make Wolfman successful, world, I'll do another monster movie. How's that? Like, it's basically blackmail, emotional blackmail. It's what I'm good at. It's what I love. I love this world. I love these monsters. It seems like they're having a bit of a resurgence with Nosferatu. Guillermo del Toro's got Frankenstein coming out. I feel like this could be maybe the politics of our time. It's time for monsters. You know what I mean? Monsters are good metaphors. So, and this feels like the right time for an unstable world.
Exactly. Monsters in the real world, monsters on the big screen.
Exactly. Say no more. We don't need to name names.
Leigh, a pleasure chatting with you, and congrats again on the movie.
Thank you so much. It's great to talk to you. Thank you.